Okay, we're gonna call to order the Board of Adjustments regular session for November the 14th, 2023. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes for the October 10th meeting, 2023?
I make a motion, we approve the minutes.
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Item number 3 is hold a public hearing to discuss and consider a request from Francisco Perez for the approval of a variance in the zoning code section 155.21 to reduce the required setback from 25 feet to 7 feet located on Tennyson Road, also known as Southgate Addition, Block 12, Lot 1.9562 acre, also known as 501 Tennyson Road.
All right, thank you, Chairman and board members. The issue we have here is Mr. Francisco Perez, who was kind of late to this project. Basically what happened is when he permitted the house, it wasn't actually him. He had a contractor that was, her name was Naomi, that submitted the paperwork and put herself down as the contractor. And so as you can see right here, where this was the site plan that got back, it was showing the setbacks, 25 foot on the front and back, and it also had a note in there about SWEPCO and Bowie Cass. So when the form boards were initially set up, I got with SWEPCO and Bowie Cass. They both gave me letters of approval for the setbacks to the power lines out there. But as you can see from this portion right here, the home didn't meet the setbacks. And if you look at your packet there, you'll have the inspections that were done on that home. There's plumbing rough inspections, which was the first inspections, and then there was also a building foundation inspection. And if you see on the plumbing rough inspection on 8/2, I did the initial plumbing rough. I put the plumbing past. I failed it. You can see the two faileds up there. I failed it at 10:19 a.m. on 8/2/23, and I put the notes in there, plumbing passed, but need to pull strings to verify setbacks. Well, nobody was on the job site there, so I called Naomi, who was his contractor. She was in Mexico, so she sends her daughter over to talk to me. Her daughter came over to talk to me. I told her we need to pull strings, plumbing's fine, but we need to verify setbacks. I'm not sure what happened, but you can see they called in a foundation inspection on 8/7, which would have been 5 days after the plumbing rough. Well, I went out there again. I met with this contractor. We had some drainage issues and that kind of stuff. And I had left a note there. You can see at 8/7 at 11:28 a.m. that the plumbing needed to be wrapped and they needed to pull strings to verify setbacks. Well, after that inspection was done, the next day, a concrete inspection was called in again. You'll see it down below right here. Daniel Ortiz went out and did it. The plumbing was wrapped, but he put in there no inspections. He didn't fix all. He says concrete was poured without fixing violations. No inspections will be made until fine is paid. So the day after they had poured the foundation without pulling the strings. And then it was about a month or two later on 10/16, Daniel saw them, they were framing up the house. And so he went out there and put did not meet setbacks, only 7 feet from the house. And so at this point, what we have is a house that's only 7 feet off the property line on the one corner. You can see on the one corner right there, it's 7 feet. It's 30 feet off the road, 10 feet 5 inches to this corner, 25 to here, and 25 to there. So basically what he's requesting is the variance to the setback, basically at 7 feet. And in his defense, the only thing I can say is his contractor was the one that was in charge of the project, and she's the one that kind of dropped the ball. Once this all came to a head and we called her, she ends up pulling herself off the project. And so basically Mr. Francisco was kind of left holding the bag at that point. And so basically he's in here now asking for a variance to the setback. You can see right here, I took some pictures of the house. So that's basically the house there. You can see how far it's been come along. From that perspective, you can see about how far it is off the road. So it's about 30 feet off the road. From here to the house, about 30 feet. But from here, this corner, over 7 feet, 10.5 from there. And then from this corner, it does meet the setback. So it's basically this one corner right here. Basically the porch. And so Mr. Perez is here if you have any questions, but basically he's requested a setback so he can continue to build the home as it's currently sitting. If you have any questions for me.
I'm curious as to why construction wasn't stopped. I mean, the city obviously recognized that there were some issues. Why weren't things stopped out here?
Well, they were at the foundation inspection. I mean, they were told to not pour until the set strings were pulled. It's over on Tennyson. We don't go over that way all that often. So what ended up happening when Daniel was out doing inspections one day, because I'm not typically out doing inspections, he saw that they had basically got the house framed up. And that's when he issued a stop work order, which was on October 16th.
Did they stop work at that point?
Yes, they did. And at that point, that's when Francisco, the property owner, actually started communicating with us, and that's when his contractor pulled herself off the permit.
Is this property being financed through a bank or a lending institution?
Yes, it is. It's financed through Cypress Bank, and they actually send in a notice saying they're in favor of the request on one of the, and that was the thing, we did send out 10 notices. We got 5 back in favor of the request, and one of them was from the Cypress Bank.
Yeah, I don't doubt Cypress Bank's in favor because they're holding the bag. They should have been pulling inspections also.
But the property's owner is here if you have any questions for him.
Okay, I guess I've got a question. Who is this Naomi Gonzalez?
Sorry, Naomi was a friend of ours that she's been doing building or construction on her own, and apparently everything being well on every project that she has done. So we kind of entrust our project to her since she had a.
Hold on just a second. I'm sorry. I gotta open the public hearing. So the public hearing's open. And go ahead and finish your sentence about it.
So we entrust our project since we know that she has a previous success on her buildings.
Where is she built at?
She built an office over Magnolia Street. She built an office. She does counting.
Okay, where's her office at?
She is on Magnolia Street.
Over there behind Herschel's on West Magnolia? So what does she does bookkeeping or she build?
She does bookkeeping, and as she's been needing, she's been building what she needs.
Okay, John, have you had dealings with Miss Gonzalez?
No, this is my first time I've had any dealings with her. If she has an office over there, she might, but as far as building anything, she might have built things. I've only been here for 3.5 years, so prior to me getting here, she might have built. That building that he's talking about on Magnolia was built, I think, about 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, okay. Okay. I guess what I'm saying, did Miss Gonzalez mislead you?
We have a lot of issues with the properties stuff that we knew and we learned along the way. Because whenever we bought the land, we didn't know we have to go to submit ourselves to certain regulations with the power lines that we have running through our properties. So we kind of have to go by what they request.
Okay, who'd you buy the property from?
We bought it from her.
Oh, she owned that property. Okay.
with, two failed inspections on it and 18 feet out of bounds on the setback. I can't imagine a contractor going ahead and starting construction.
We have a few miscommunications with the guy that poured the concrete, with the guy who did that did the plumbing, with the setbacks. Because whenever we call the plumber and do his work, we call John to check, and then he said that we need to check the setbacks, and then the guy that poured the concrete, he told us that he spoke with John about it, and he said that it gave him the green light to go ahead and pour the concrete. At that point, we didn't know much about it until he came and said that the pour should not be poured. Well, at that point, we didn't know much about it. That's the reason we went go ahead with the framing until he caught us, and he said like, you need to go back where the setbacks, because the setbacks, you're not there. But like I said, the concrete was poured without our acknowledgement, or because every time, like whenever we did the plumbing, we called John to do the inspection, and whenever the concrete was being poured, we called John to come and check, and on those occasions, we didn't know exactly until we were already framed up the house that we were off of the setbacks.
Okay, so you got the property surveyed before you bought it? Oh, James, want to speak? Okay.
So, when you pull the permits and you hire a reputable builder, number one, you can't build it from Mexico, okay? That's number one. You can't be in Mexico trying to build a house and then expect it to be built if you don't have a reputable builder. Number two, when you pull permits, you get a list of inspections that you must abide by in order to proceed to the next inspection. One of the first things on there is a form board survey must be submitted to the city prior to plumbing. Whether the inspector's out there or not, it's your responsibility. If you're taking the responsibility of building the house, then you've got to be responsibility for every step and phase of construction, whether you know it, there's a miscommunication, or whatever it may be. Okay? So, that form board survey, you never got a form board survey and you went ahead and told the plumber or whoever, the other builder or whoever it was, went ahead and plumbed the house, then they made a huge mistake. Because they didn't have a form board survey. That would have showed them before they even put the plumbing in the ground that the house was way over the building line. And then all of a sudden the slab got made up and poured because there was a miscommunication with the concrete guy. Who's running the job? Who's running the job? Who pulled the permit and who's not responsible? That's the question. And if the city told you to stop and you already had a problem with the power line, with all of this karma going around, wouldn't you think that you might have made a big mistake by buying a lot, power lines going through it, and now you have a problem with the front eyes that you're over the building line? I mean, all of this is self-inflicted. It's not, it's self-inflicted, in my opinion. That's all I've got to say.
I do agree. As I've been trying to build my house and trying to do the things that I don't know, that I don't have experience of it, and trying to relent my job or my house to somebody else, and lend my responsibility to them, and just have my house built, is a lot of negligence from me. Like he said, I supposed to be running the house alone on every stage, on every step, which I didn't, because like I said, I entrust my construction to somebody else. Like I believe a lot of people do.
Okay, so you got you got a variance from the power lines to,
Yeah, so when the form boards were initially set up, when I did the plumbing roof, I contacted Bowie Cass and Swepco to meet me out and send me emails, verification that they approved the location of the house, which they both did. So there was a certain set of stipulations that Bowie Cass gave, but Swepco actually met me on site, Jason, and he said that it was fine in the location, and I have documentation for all that stuff. So in regards to the power lines, he's fine where the house sits. No, sir, this was right at, well, because I didn't know at this point, this is when I asked him to pull strings so we can verify the setbacks, but I wanted to get clarification from the electric companies that he was fine as far as the rear portion of the house was set. Because if you go back to the, can you go back to the picture again? So if you see on here, you see the three lines that go across the middle. Those are kind of the Bowie cast lines, and the one that runs. Actually, that's the Swepco lines, and then the big lines that run like that are the. Yeah, so these three are the Bowie cast, and this one is Swepco, and there's actually only one line here. But yeah, that was a topic before the house was even permitted. We were trying to we got information on how far the setbacks and everything had to be from Bowie cast and Swepco. So that was one of the hiccups just through the permitting process to make sure we got all that set up. Well, based on the site plan, oh, my bad. Based on the site plan, yeah, they show it works, because see, this is the 25-foot setback line right here. See that triangle? So based on the site plan, they were saying it would work, whoever drew up this site plan. Well, obviously, that's not the case, because it didn't work.
It works now, but, if the house were in the correct location, then it would not work with the power line. Is that right?
That's correct. It would have been too close to the power lines. So he basically said it as close to the power lines as he could possibly get at this point.
Go ahead.
Does because when you draw up a site plan, the lot, plat should show the power line on there. Does the homeowner or any of that have that in their possession at this time? Because when you buy a lot, it shows easements and it shows power lines. And so you submit that to your draftsman that draws up a plat or a site plan, I'm sorry. So that site plan, it should show those lines based off the plat. Am I correct on that, guys?
Yeah, it should have, yeah, whoever drew up the site, and I don't know who drew up the site plan, but whoever drew up the site plan should have verified that, based on the dimensions, this should have worked.
So the plat, and this is the problem when you don't have, your ABCs lined up and you don't know exactly, the steps of construction. It's very easy. It's called a plat that's based off of a site plan is based off a plat that when you purchase a lot, it shows your easements on it. Then you set your house on top of that and you have a site plan. It's very elementary if you know the process, but it was very elementary that no one, they pulled the permit and they didn't know the process. Now there's a problem. Now there's issues. So that's all I've got to say on that.
Do you have, a legal document, an agreement, a contract, of any kind with your original general contractor, builder, or whatever her name is?
No, unfortunately, no. As she is being close to the family, we just entrust everything.
So did she have this site plan drawn up?
I'm not sure.
John? Who submitted you this site plan?
Naomi. Naomi submitted all the plans, and Naomi put herself down as the contractor all the way up until he got the stop work order.
So she gave you this stuff?
Yes, sir. I didn't start dealing with Francisco until after the stop work order was issued, and she pulled herself off the permit, and then he put himself down as the contractor when she pulled off, and then that's when I started dealing with him, and that was basically when I told him he needed to come to the BOA for a variance.
So you think she drew this herself?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't know, cause see, it's even got. I don't know if SWEPCO was signing off, like if she took it down to SWEPCO and they stamped it as like a sign off. Cause see how it has Southwest Power Company on here. So I don't know if she took it to SWEPCO and had them stamp it like, hey, we're good with this setup. But I did have Jason, who's on here, Jason Martin. I did have him meet me out there when the form boards were set up just to make sure everything was good. I just needed verification of the front setbacks, which obviously that's where the ball got dropped.
Okay, I mean, I'm just wondering, it's showing a 25-foot setback, right? I mean, is this what this site plan is
Yeah,
showing?
basically right here, this pyramid in between is showing, because basically they have a 25-foot setback on the rear and the two fronts. Because this is Tennyson, and I forget what road this is, but
That's Flory.
Flory. So they have 25-foot setbacks all the way around, and so that's what this pyramid, that's basically his build box. And they're saying that the house would fit in right there. Because if this would have came in and this house was past the building line, I would have been like, whoa, 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 is it gonna fit or not gonna fit? You know?
Right.
But that's why we have them pull strings so we can verify it did fit. But like I said, it wasn't really Francisco, it was Naomi that I was dealing with.
Right. But she presented you this. I mean, she turned this in to you.
Yeah, she turned all the plans in, she handled all the inspections up until the stop work order.
Go ahead. I just, I'm good. Y'all were kind of going over it whenever so I just heard it. Never mind.
Okay.
Does Naomi have any obligation to the city, for her information or that she submitted? Do you have any recourse to Naomi? The bank obviously has some obligation, because they have inspectors of their own, that are inspect before draws are made and that sort of thing. Unfortunately, this is really a mess, not of your doing. I'm not saying that necessarily, but there are a number of people in here who kind of have their fingerprints on this thing. And I want a good solution for you. I'm not trying to create a problem, but I would hope that we, being this board, the city code enforcement, and the bank, and would learn a lesson here, because this ought to cost somebody some money, and not necessarily you, although it's going to cost you time and expense. I understand that because of the delays, but somebody needs to step up, and my thinking is it needs to be Naomi. She needs to be here to explain herself and why she decided to get off of the obligation. So I'm not sure this board. There are just so many issues. I'm not sure this board needs to face the liability of granting either way.
I mean, the board can always table it and say they want to hear from Naomi, but that would be up to him to get his contractor in here. You know, another thing is, I don't know if the board would be interested, but how wide is the porch?
a solution.
Oh, well, okay, well, cause I was thinking
Since
if he takes the porch off, if that's a 8 or 10 foot porch, that would push it back to, a smaller variance, but he says he has a solution. You guys will-
I don't know if I can. I would like to, since I'm meeting the requirements all the way around except for that corner, I have a back porch that meets the limits. So instead of taking a Tennyson Road as a front porch, I like to take Florida Street as my front, so that way we can continue, and that way I can meet on the side the requirement of the feet requirement.
Unfortunately, since you're on 2 streets, you're on Floria and Tennyson, the setback's the same on both streets, which is 25 feet.
25 all the
Yeah,
way around.
yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, the best solution might be to take off the porch, and I don't know how wide it is. It's probably, I don't know, maybe 7 to 10 feet wide. That would change it from, instead of 7 foot, it'd be more like 17 feet. And then obviously it would meet on that 10 and a half. Be pretty close to, I don't know, it's something the board can consider.
I think I would like to explore, continuing this, or, there's just so much involved, and unfortunately, for Ms. Perez, there's a lot of money involved, and I would like to get the bank's perspective, their inspector or whoever they send out. I'd like to make sure that we explore several, like maybe move the porch or whatever. I just don't think that ought to be decided here tonight by us. I think it needs a little more input and guidance from the city code department on what kind of options they think are available in this situation.
I mean, from our perspective, it's really what the board decides on this. I mean, from the city perspective, obviously taking off the porch and giving an extra 8 feet or so, so it'd be a 10-foot variance versus 14 foot, or whatever it would have been, or 18-foot variance. But I mean, really, it's a board decision. I mean, what you guys think is best. I mean, we could table it, and then he can try to get someone from the bank down here next meeting, see if he can get someone from Naomi, and you guys can feel out everybody if that would work better for you.
Well, I mean, I think that Naomi, she's probably not gonna show up if you try to get her here, but I'd recommend if I was the city, she'd never drive a nail in the city limits again. And to me, I mean, as far as the bank inspecting, I mean, I've done inspections for Security Bank, American National Bank. I don't go look at the setback. I mean, I go in and, I'd go in and see the progress of the house, or they give you a checklist, and it's 60% completed, you turn it back to the bank. So, I mean, you got a survey on this lot, right? Do we have a survey? Did you get the lot survey? I mean, I've seen the stakes. Did you get a survey? So that's all you, who gave that to you?
She took care of all those things, so.
So Naomi gave that to you. Okay. Well, right now, there's some red markers out there. There's some survey stakes out there right now.
Yes.
Okay, who marked your property line?
It was the guy from here that does the surveys.
Denny?
John.
John Denny?
John.
He draw you anything, or he just marked them for you?
I think we do have the surveys. I just have to get everything that was given to me when she dropped the ball. But it was him.
So you may have a survey.
Yes.
Did he draw the house on it?
No, he just drew the property line. Who?
John
John-
Denny came
yeah.
after.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, all right. Well, I mean, I'm like Ronnie. I mean, I hate to see you in a bad position because I don't think it was your fault. I mean, I think you got tied up with somebody that tried to make something fit that wasn't gonna fit. She owned the lot. She sold you the lot, correct?
Yes.
And, you know, I mean, I think you got deceived of what was gonna, you know, then she was gonna build the house for you, so she's gonna make money off of that. Me, she just tried to slip by to make it fit. I mean, I think the only thing you can do is take the porch off.
Even if you take the porch off, does that get the correct setback?
No, I'm guessing, hold on a second, let me. So you can see from there, the porch is probably 6 to 7 feet wide, I'm guessing, maybe 8 feet at the most. So 7 plus 8 is 15, that would be a 10-foot setback. That'd be, you know, obviously better than 7. I mean, it would change it to a 10-foot variance versus 18-foot variance, you know, I mean, we can bring it back next month with I can go out there and measure how far the porch is and everything, and then get exact numbers so you guys can make a decision on if you want to grant that variance or not.
I don't really wanna cost you, 60 days in time, and this time of the year, weather's gonna become a factor. But somewhere, this board's gotta decide, are we gonna go by the regulations, the code, or not, I guess? Although there are variances allowed for multiple different situations, and I don't think you should be penalized or singled out, especially because of your not being aware of the process. I just would like to see the city do some sort of investigation into your contractor, this lady, whatever her name is, and please forbid that from happening again to some unknowing potential customer of ours.
Yeah, one thing I can say for him, for the board to consider is, because the power lines are behind the house and that does reduce the amount of buildable area. I mean, if he had come before the board beforehand, obviously all this, and asked for a variance due to the hardship of the power lines, would the board have granted it? I mean, that's something you can think about too. I don't know, you know, if he had asked for a 10-foot setback, would the board have granted that? I don't know, that's, you know, something to consider in your thought process, because he does have a limited hardship. I mean, obviously this is all, you know, on his contractor, but he does have somewhat of a hardship due to the power line easement.
Right, but that's why that lot had sit there for 30 years. Nobody could build on it, you know. So, you know, everybody knew they couldn't build on it.
When you're asking for an 18-foot variance on a very busy street, there's a lot of traffic on it.
That's true too. That's true too.
Right, at some point, you're talking about this committee or this board granting a variance. If it becomes a power line issue, do we override SWEPCO? I mean, if they say you can't build within so many feet, can we tell SWEPCO, well, we're gonna do that anyway?
No, sir. I mean, they have to comply with SWEPCO and buoy cast requirements. My thing was, if he had come in before he started building and said, hey, I'm limited because of these power lines, but I want to build a house here, would you grant me a variance for, 10 feet? I mean, is that something the board would have considered? Possibly. And I'm just saying that, you can kind of look at it in that perspective. It's not like he had a ton of room behind him to build. I mean, they screwed up because of the power lines and not pulling strings, obviously, to verify their setbacks. There's a couple issues here.
Well, and even house design could have become a factor. I mean, you could have built a different style house or different design and been within requirement. Hindsight's 20/20, isn't it?
I mean, I think the only solution is you take the porch out. You think?
At this point, I'm gonna have to say yes. It is just not feasible or practical to tear that house down and do something different. But I would hope we would all learn something from this.
Absolutely do, sir. Absolutely. Painfully, I do.
Yeah, I mean, if you'd have been a builder and come in here and done that, we'd probably recommend you to tear the house down. But, I think you got suckered, what I think, by Naomi.
I think more than anything, and I don't know if we're legally protected, but what you need is a good lawyer.
Don't show up at Thanksgiving with Naomi,
So if the board would like, we can table this until next month.
No,
And then,
I don't think so.
No?
I mean,
well, because I have to get the exact measurements on the porch so that we can, so we can verify what the setbacks are. So he'll, instead of a 25-foot, he might be asking for a 15-foot setback instead of 25. So I need the board to approve whatever that requires.
I mean, he can build a fence behind the power line, right?
Before he can do it, he'd have to get swept go until he gets approval. They'd have to give me approval first, otherwise it would go.
Yes, that's correct. Ooh. Okay, so you're suggesting we table this until you get the exact measurements? I mean, it's gonna be what it's gonna be.
Yeah, but I think it's got to come back, right, David? Or my understanding is, I mean, you could say that we're going to give them whatever that variance is, but I still need to bring it back to you guys to vote on it and to approve it, so we know exactly what we're looking at, if it's 15 feet or 14 feet or whatever the case might be.
Okay. So, hear a motion to,
Okay, then in that situation, I would make a motion that we table it pending a really accurate either survey or some good numbers pulled by the code department so we know really where we are. And we make an educated decision rather than we all guess at it.
okay, all right. Anybody else want to say anything for a close?
Go ahead.
Okay, so from what I understand, we're looking at possibly making a motion to have a continuance and bring it back to vote on based off of a resurvey and possibly redesigning the front porch or taking it off to get closer to the building line. That's my That's my understanding, or that's what I'm thinking. Is that correct?
That's correct, James. You're correct.
Okay, so, yeah, I just think that, again, I think this was somebody got swindled on this deal, but, lesson learned, if there's a lot sitting around for a long time with a bunch of power lines, it's very obvious that that house and that person that started that house under whoever that builder person was knew from the get-go that when she or he looked up and she said, "Oh, you got to have a 25-foot front setback." There's power lines. Let's just move it front, and we'll ask for forgiveness later. That's what I think possibly happened, because how many people have probably almost bought that lot and didn't? So, lesson learned, and if we've got to revote on it and redesign or whatever. I guess that's what we'll do.
Okay, I have one other thought. Because of the issues with this original contractor, this lady, I would like to make sure from this point forward that you don't get swindled anymore. I would like to know from the city's perspective, is everything else up to code? I mean, electrical, mechanical, plumbing. I just want to make sure that we don't get down the road another month or two and fail another inspection that triggers another set of issues that would be cheaper to fix now than later. Am I making any sense to you, John?
Yeah, I completely understand. And I have walked through the house. It's not completely done yet inside, so it's basically at the framing stage. There was some wiring, some mechanical, but it hadn't been completed. So we will do all inspections, and Mr. Francisco will get with me on all his inspections from here on out.
Okay, I would like to know, you know, that the heat and air conditioning system is adequate for the square footage of the house. The electrical is, the wiring size, to be specific, is accurate. We don't want a fire problem 3 or 4 years down the road. And I would like some involvement from the bank. I mean, saying, hey, y'all are on the hook for this thing. So, and all these things I'm asking for are, in the final analysis, are for his protection, that he gets what he pays for. Okay.
Well, now are you your own contractor now? Is that what I understand?
At this point, I will. Because I have put so much money down on all the mess and all the stuff that they've been going on. I'll have to.
Okay. Well, I didn't think the bank would let you be your own contractor, but that's up between you and the bank.
Yes. Like he said, we will have to go every step of the way. I'll try to work with John about everything that have to be done correctly. This is the house for my family, and I don't want a fire in 2-3 years, just like he mentioned, or have any other issue that can take my family off of the house.
Right.
Okay, I think if you're going to be your own contractor, that'll be your own issue with your bank. But in the future, I would like to know that you consult with John, because he obviously knows more about every facet of that house, the home building, and the adequacy of a product. I would like for you to commit to visiting with him before you make a decision on a product or maybe a subcontractor, that subcontractor is qualified, has a history of doing this kind of work for your protection.
This process has been really painful and stressful. Believe me, I'll try to get people help me out to get the best of it.
Well, the best guy to help you is sitting right there.
Absolutely.
I would also like to just offer one more bit of advice, maybe that you might be able to take a look at. Since there is a certain distance that needs to be added to the current variance that he's requesting, if we have an approximation of that and shoot that, if it needs to be 15 feet that he needs to have exactly, then I think the board, because you can vary this, you have the power to be able to do this, is to consider maybe as opposed to hitting an exact, and this is because of time, as opposed to hitting exactly needs 15 feet, then offer a 14-foot variance where he has a foot variable within that, because that way, as long as he is meeting the variance and not encroaching into that variance, as long as he's back behind that, then you've accomplished what you're looking at. So if there's a measurement that we have that we can add to that could be could serve as the proper setback on that, and he's behind that, then you've met your goal, and that'll save him 30 days for us having to come back.
I'd say 14 feet to be safe. I know the porch is at least 6 feet wide, but then he's got some columns on there, so I would say 14 feet to be safe. So he'd be asking for an 11-foot variance from 25 foot to 14 foot.
I don't necessarily have a problem with that, except that obviously people have guessed all the way through that, you know, and I don't think this board's here to give you a difficult time, and I know that John will help you reach something that we can all agree to, but rather than continue to guess, I'd just like more definition to that distance, and that would be relatively easy to do.
Yeah, what we can do is I'll have him follow up with Denny and actually get a survey so we can get the exact measurement.
Okay, anybody else got any comments or questions?
Well, the only comment I've got is I'd make a motion that we table this. No, I have nothing yet.
All right, we're gonna close the public hearing.
Okay, I just would like to make a motion that we table this based on our conversation with getting some additional information and come back as quick as possible to give you an answer so you can move forward. Again, I don't think this board's here to give you any problem, and I know that the two best guys in here are these code guys, because they will give you good advice, and you certainly need that.
Yes, sir, I will.
Then I guess I make a motion to table it until we can either call a special meeting if that's something that's available to us, or until you're comfortable with the information that you have for us to make a decision with.
Yeah, we'll have him get a full survey from Denny, and then as soon as we know we can get that from John, I'll get with John. Then we got to give 15 days notice for the meeting, so we'll schedule it out 15 days. So hopefully hopefully by 29th, 30th, or maybe the first of the month.
Okay,
Because the 15 days will include weekends.
okay, yeah, and I think Denny ought to be able to get it. John, you might talk to Mr. Denny or. Okay,
Yes, I would like to make that motion that we table it until we can get more accurate information and meet again.
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. We'll adjourn. open up the planning and zoning regular session for November the 14th, 2023. Call to order. Consider approval of the minutes for the October 10th, 2023 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting and take any action necessary. I hear a motion to accept the minutes.
Make a motion, we accept the minutes from October meeting.
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, number 3, hold a public hearing to discuss and consider a request from John Denny, David Clemens for the approval of a zoning change from GR General Retail District and SF2 Single Family Residential District to GR General Retail District for a 0.7184 acre parcel of land described as Lot A2 and part of 1 and 2, Block 7, Latson Heights Edition, according to the Titus County Appraisal District, PCAD record, City of Mount Pleasant, Titus County, Texas, an address of 1313 South Jefferson Avenue, and take any action necessary.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. This particular property, you've probably seen something like this here just a couple of months ago, where we have a property that has dual zoning on this. In this case, this property is located on the east side of Chester Street, it's south of Jefferson. I'm sorry, it's on the east side of Jefferson, just north of, I'm gonna get this right, East Chester Street. And so the subject property, as I said, has a multiple or dual zoning on this. You have a general retail, which is all along here, and this is a general retail facility. But also on the back side of his property, it's about almost a 0.22 acre portion of that is zoned single family. I don't have an explanation as why it's zoned single family with a single family, but the applicant is requesting to change that zoning to be total general retail for that site, which would be appropriate for the site. So that would bring that to compliance for a general retail use. And with that, I mean, it meets the intent of the comp plan as well. This being a zoning change request, even with that, sorry about that. We did provide notice to all the property owners that are within the area, within 200 feet. We did send out 13 notices. Meeting statutory requirements, and posted the newspaper as well and on our website. This just requires a simple majority vote of all 3 of you that are present here for the approval of this. And I just wanted to also just add a note that at last week's council meeting, this was scheduled to go before city council for next week, but that meeting has been postponed or not happening. So this is postponed as far as the public hearing to the next council meeting, which will be on December the 5th. But with that, this is a public hearing, and I'm available to answer any questions that you may have regarding this.
Anybody have any questions for David?
What's currently on that property?
It's a small office, and it's actually the surveyor's office that would, yeah. And so it's an office use, and which is an allowed use by right within general retail zoning.
You had no responses to the zoning change or request. No one
I have had none as of today. And once again, we are re-notifying for the updated meeting for December 12th.
Okay, any questions? No? All right, we'll open the public hearing. Say anything? I will close the public hearing. Do I hear a motion to approve the zoning change to general retail.
I make a motion, we approve the zoning change to, retail.
I second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I'll move to item number 4. Consider a request from Jason Bell, applicant owner, for the approval of a preliminary plat for a 6.97 acre tract of land located in the Henry W. Jones Survey, abstract number 307, Titus County, Texas, and in the city of Mount Pleasant, and being identified as Lot 5 and part of 4B, 2.56 acres, Block 349, Mount Pleasant City Block, and Lot 6, 5.8224 acres, Block 349, Mount Pleasant City Block, Titus County, Texas, City of Mount Pleasant, Texas, and generally located at the northwest corner of the intersection of East Ferguson Road and Choctaw Street. Take any action necessary.
Yes, sir. Once again, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this property you may have recognized. This came before you back in May for a zoning change from a future development district and a general retail. Zoned it commercial for the purpose of developing the property. And essentially, what this is going to do, the applicant has a business here. It's Symmetry Sports. And so they're expanding their operation, and this is the location that they are going to. The planner for this project is here tonight. In case you have some questions for him, Chris Basham, he's here this evening for you. The purpose of the preliminary plat is just to make sure that we have all the necessary facilities for this. And so with this, there's an existing 6-inch. I keep pushing the wrong button. 6-inch sanitary sewer and 6-inch water that runs across Ferguson here, and of course they'll have access here along Ferguson and then also in Choctaw. And this will be for future development. This is going to be a laydown yard for this facility. They have a 2-story complex that's going here. All the parking will be located behind this, and once they submit the site plan, once the preliminary plat has gone through and made its way through here, then the next step would be the site planning. And so essentially what I want to do is just show you, give you the concept of what the building will look like. Be a 2-story office facility, and so this is what will be on that particular property. With that, staff does recommend approval of the preliminary plat with the conditions that we have outlined in staff's report. With that, Mr. Basham is here to answer any questions you may have, as well as staff.
Anybody got any questions for David? Okay, nobody has any questions for you, David, so we'll open up the public hearing. He mixed up, okay. Anybody got any questions for? Anybody got any questions for?
That piece of property, there's a good chance I'm the only person in this room that's old enough to know this. That piece of property was the site for H.E. Span construction for a number of years. To avoid a potential problem, I would sure do an environmental study of that property.
I think they've already done it. I'll recheck it. They also did some boring too, because we're checking the soil conditions that we're building on. Yeah, there was a lot of compaction done there, because there was also a storage yard before he bought it, where they stored a lot of heavy equipment and materials and stuff, so, that helped with the compaction, so.
Just, I have a project going now, and my client has spent a lot of money on borings and soil injection. If you're not careful, you can get into a real issue. And I'm not trying to throw water on your deal, I'm just saying, be careful.
Yeah, that's gonna be a pretty place, a nice place. Be a plus.
We're at about 65% design right now. I'm got the drawings over here, been reviewing them all day and still looking at some stuff. We'll be presenting them to the client and going through, we're down to the point right now, we're looking at finishes, both interior and exterior. But it's gonna be a nice building.
Yeah, it looks pretty. It'll be nice.
Jason is a good guy to work with.
Yeah.
They do nice work and quality work, and it'll be an asset to the community, for sure.
Thank you.
All right, any more questions? All right, do I hear a motion to accept the plan?
I make a motion to accept the plan.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Planning director's report.
Yeah, so, just want to remind everybody about, our fourth annual Boots and Bells, be this Thursday. Tree lighting ceremony and band and so forth, and some goodies out there for everybody. It'll begin at 5:30 till 8:30, so come out on the square and don't be square. Also, I've already announced the city council meeting, for December the 5th will not happen, next week. It was canceled for November 21st. And just want to say happy Thanksgiving to everyone. And, if you're going anywhere, be safe. And, we'll see you after Thanksgiving.
All right, same to you, David, thank you. All right, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Favor, say aye.
Aye.